Hey, welcome all to the next edition of Tech Samvad. In this edition, we have an exciting guest, and we'll be talking about AI a lot. Just to give a brief about Anupam, who is my guest, we go a long way back together. We used to work about 15 years ago, but after that, uh, he is actually leading one firm, founder of one firm. I'll ask him to give his introduction. But what made me bring him to this show is I've been going through his LinkedIn post, and his LinkedIn post, if you go through it and if you look at what he has been putting out, it is a very thoughtful synthesis of deep expertise of AI practical application in areas like BPM, ITES, GCC, that is Global Capability Centers, and enterprise transformation. And I would strongly recommend everyone to follow him in LinkedIn because his content often blends realism about the AI hype, execution challenges, personal anecdotes. You'll see how religion Ramayana fits into the AI world and all. I really love his post, and this I'm all excited about this session or edition today because I'm going to ask all these things to him. And before that, Anupam, why don't you introduce yourself and the firm that you have founded? Yeah.
Thank you, Shubhankar. As you said, we go back a long way. I remember the time that we were there in SAP, and one thing that has stayed with me about you is the inquisitiveness about new things and the sheer energy that you bring. So
Thank you.
it's an honor, it's a privilege to be talking with you. And as far as our career paths have gone, after SAP, I spent some time at Genpact, and then I spent a lot of time at Everest Group, which is a consulting and strategic advisory firm. It also does research on the BPM part. I was the practice director who led the entire BFSI healthcare and analytics stack for them. And then since 2018, I established my own firm, and now we run this as a, I would say, consulting, advisory, and long-term coaching for firms and individuals who want our advice on how to think about positioning themselves in the BPM market.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that's been rippling apart in this BPM world
Yeah.
is AI. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to think that this is their new miracle drug. But like all miracle drugs, it has a bitter aftertaste. And sometimes it is our job to tell the clients, look, this is where the taste is. So, and you see the battle hardened views that I have on LinkedIn.
Wow. Yeah, I'll put that your LinkedIn profile in the comment section so that people can go and follow it. So with that, let's go to our first section, that is AI hype versus reality. This is mostly from your post about Gartner forecast, AI as Ozempic. That I found out quite interesting and hilarious. That's wonderful. And realism in deployments. So my first question would be, you have actually highlighted how 50% of the organization are reversing their AI-driven headcount cuts in customer service. That's one underrated side effect of AI hype that leaders should watch for in 2025. And how can we spot it early? Maybe you can want to throw some light on it.
Yeah, so let me start at the basic of where the current AI, Gen AI parts are. And I'm
Hmm,
purposely leaving the agentic AI part
hmm.
out of this because that becomes a little more complicated. Now,
Complicated, yeah.
when you look at generative AI, it is essentially an extremely sophisticated next token predictor. It'll analyze
Hmm,
the pattern, it'll pick which is the majority pattern that you're following, and it'll pick the next token, which is all good. The problem
hmm,
with that is that it is by definition and by design, not built to handle what are called as edge cases or boundary cases or corner
hmm,
cases. And that is where the issue on customer experience goes. As long as you have a very simple standard request, let's take cable set-top boxes, for example. Let's say you have one single set-top box, you were not using it for 3 months, you want to make a payment for it,
hmm,
clearly
hmm,
straight and simple process, that's fine. It'll work. But how about this? Let's say, you're merging your family. Let's say your
hmm,
parents have decided to come and stay with you. They had an existing set-top box. That was on a
hmm.
different number. You have a
Yes.
different number. One was HD, one is non-HD. Plus one now wants to have an OTT. You want to make
Mm,
one the master, one the secondary. You want to merge them into one. Now, is this a case that the AI can handle? Not at this point of time, because it's
mhm,
extremely complicated. This requires manual intervention. And these are things where it starts faltering. And the
mhm,
falter points are in the friction that it generates for
mhm.
the customer. By
Okay.
default, you will be led to the AI section output of it. But what
Mm,
happens is when you are trying to ask a problem, it will start telling you ways in which these simple things can done. It will
mm.
predictably not understand it.
That
And then,
complexity. Yeah.
yeah, and then either it goes into a hallucination mode or it takes an
Ah,
inordinately long time to say, okay, go and talk to the manager. And
mhm,
those are places, which you should be very careful about when you're deploying customer experience. And
mm,
by the way, things like this will apply on the insurance side, on the banking side. Everywhere it's the same story. As long as
mm,
you are in the majority of cases, this works well. The moment you start stepping out of it, that's where the
mhm,
issues are.
mhm,
And that's where the human judgment, the human intervention, and thinking about something that had happened. Let's say you handle a client like this about 2 years back or 3 years back
mhm,
with a similar complaint, and you knew what the resolution was, but you have not apparently done it in a workflow.
mhm.
Now, because it's not in the workflow, it has not been documented, GenAI can't do anything about it. Those are the places where, as a supervisor, you should be careful as to how you're going to use AI.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, basically the fallback mechanism should be robust.
Yep.
That okay. Yeah, so wonderful. So maybe now coming to my interesting question, the question I
Hmm.
wanted to ask about Ozempic. You said it multiplies existing dysfunction. So you are advising that a company today on their AI first pilot, what's that one diagnostic question they need to answer before starting? So basically, uh, don't use AI as Ozempic. Ask some basic questions. So what would be those questions?
Those questions would be part of what you said as a diagnostic. Ask
Mm,
them to look at if you were to answer the same question that you are asking AI to answer, is there a
mhm,
documented process in your organization to answer that? If I go
mhm,
and ask five different people that same question, will I get the same answer or not? Because
mm,
that will throw up deficiencies or weakness in either the
mhm,
process or the data or how do you interpret the data.
mhm,
And some very simple examples to look at it. If you, for example, go to Amazon and you
mm,
look at the items that it is recommending,
mhm,
there is a certain amount of coherence in what it is recommending at the bottom of the page and in the
mm,
middle of the page.
mm, mhm,
About 3 years back, if you went to other websites who are trying to do something similar, that was just not there.
mhm,
They would at the beginning of the page they will have a certain different set of products that they're trying to sell you. At the bottom there is something different. The underlying issue was that your data was not consistent. You're
mhm,
picking up pieces from different sets of data. One was picking up people with similar kind of profiles. The other was picking up something
mhm,
people who have bought similar things. The third was maybe something different. Oh, what is the flavor of the season? And if your data is
mhm,
not harmonized, if your data sets their their
mhm,
base are not comparable, you will end up with things which make no sense whatsoever. You could be shopping for, I don't know, let's say a remote controlled car, and
mm,
somebody might be, in a badly tuned recommendation engine telling
mhm,
you, oh, go and you can buy a gaming keyboard or a gaming mouse.
mhm,
Now,
mhm,
because somebody had thought that there is a connection between a game and an RC car and something like this, it works. But those are issues. And those
mhm,
issues are what I say get extremely magnified the moment you put in AI.
mhm.
Because AI will pick up
Okay.
whatever data you have.
Yes, it will.
And if it is garbage data, if I can use that
Garbage
word,
out. Gigo.
it will be garbage out. That's one of the oldest computing principles, GIGO. And AI will just supercharge it because AI is not designed to check whether it is right or wrong. It is simply
Mm,
designed at this point of time to predict what is the next best going to be. And the
yes.
next best is only going to be as robust as your data. So,
Mhm,
data, process, and people. Those are the
yes.
diagnostics that before you go onto the AI side, you have to have in order and check. And as I said, my key question to them always is if you were to ask this question to your staff, is there a
Mm,
documented process? Is there a standard data set? And if I ask that same question to five people, will I get the same answer?
yes.
And something from our shared history, Shivankar, this is often the SAP going in question.
Okay.
If you want to ask a question how good the data is, ask any organization, how many
Yes.
employees do you have?
Yes.
Finance, HR, and IT will give you three different numbers. And that's the dead giveaway, that there is
Eh,
no data harmonization.
oh my God, that actually reminds me with something which I should have done at the first. All the opinions posted by the speaker and me myself are ours only, not attributed to SAP. So I just wanted to put in that disclaimer.
Yeah,
Okay.
no opinions attributed to no companies. These are
No, no,
completely
no
Shivankar and
company,
Anupam's
something
opinions.
completely two colleagues, erstwhile colleagues and friends talking. So it's plain and simple. Yeah, so that actually brings us to the next segment, which is one of my which I want to actually pick your mind is AI in BPM and ITES, and where I want you to question is I saw your post on AI failing in BPM due to forgetting context. Actually, you hit the right point here. Actually, if you look at it, the LLM is as knowledgeable as the current context, and it forgets very soon. So that's a very valid point. Uh, I just wanted to ask, what's a creative way you have seen teams building a memory layer into the AI systems, and what pitfalls should we avoid?
Very important question, but also very difficult question to answer because there is no one single way. There are multiple ways. And before I go there, let me spend 30 seconds on explaining why this is a real
This
problem.
problem.
When you look at human intelligence, it is a combination of problem solving as well as memory items. It is extremely important for the brain to figure out which memory to pick from. And at a very bare bones level, the brain has places where it has stored memories, then there's indexation, then there's probably super indexation, and then there's probably more indexation. So for example, if today I was to ask you, somebody of a friend's name from your friend of school days, the brain will immediately filter to
Really?
say school and this and this, and this will ignore everything else. So memory storage, memory retrieval, and accurate memory retrieval is extremely important to the entire way that
Mhm.
anybody thinks and responds. Now, as it happens, as the reality is, the current AI that we have, that is not really designed to do this. We have
Mm.
solved one part of pattern, looking
Recognition.
at what the pattern is, predicting what it is, fitting it there, but not really, cracking the code on saying how to retrieve the memory very quickly and very accurately, the memory that needs to be picked up.
Hmm.
And this becomes a bigger issue when you start using AI for anything which is more day to day and repetitive work.
Hmm.
You and I, we can today log into a chat GPT or a Perplexity or a Claude and say, okay, I want an analysis of this particular game that, let's say, Divya had
Mm.
with Honeru. And the chat GPT will give you a fair answer of it. Ask it to maintain a log of all the games that Divya has played and all the games
Mm.
that Honeru has played and your analysis, and it will very quickly get lost because it has
Mm.
reached the limit of whatever tokens it can store. And now
Yes.
that is where your problem is. How do
Hmm.
you deal with this?
Mm.
The way that we have advised clients runs into two or three main buckets. One of them, which is the brute force method, is that at the end of the day or end of the week, you classify the most important edge cases
Memory.
that you have
Mm.
into an offline document. And that offline document can be across a shared drive, can be on a cloud that let's say the entire team of agents handling, they can build up. And
Is
that
it
is
RAG
something,
you are mentioning? RAG retrievable augmented.
yes,
That's
but
okay.
not doing it automated. I'm saying do it
Okay.
manually.
Okay. Okay.
Because RAG again at some point of time will run into memory issues.
Okay.
And this is because let's say even if you don't have a very large organization,
Hmm.
a 40 to 50 FTE contact center is not really too big. But the amount of data that they will end up handling, even if you
Mm.
assume an average handling time of 5 minutes in a day, and
Hmm.
you've got 8 hours in a day and you've got 50 people across the month, across 6 months, the amount of data
Mm.
that they will end up generating will
Mm.
become simply unmanageable for a machine at this point of time. And
Mm.
as I said, the issue is not only storage, the issue is also efficient retrieval.
Mm.
Because the moment that you ask any AI to load all the memory in its database and go through it, it will falter. Then it starts looking for shortcuts, which is where
Mm.
you start producing hallucinations.
Hallucinations and wrong answers. Yeah.
Yep. So as I said, so one of the ways is to do it offline. That's
Mm.
one way to do it. Second is to have to have an extended memory inside the layer and say, okay, now I'm extending the memory that is available to you. So use a custom deployment,
Mm,
and therefore you
mm,
can use the size.
mm,
The downside of that is that it increases the cost. Now
mm,
you either need a bigger compute power to go through it, or you be
mhm.
ready for a certain delay in the time that it gives you an output.
Output, right.
The third is, a combination of these saying while you do maintain an offline record, every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, a supervisor culls out which are the most egregious cases,
So
logs
sort
them
of a
separately,
hybrid, yeah, sort of a
hybrid,
hybrid
and
of
then
yeah.
do it that way.
Mm,
Again, if at a bottom line I were to say this, rack can be good if you're trying to handle cases where the volumes are not very high, where it is medium number of volumes, it can do it well. But
mhm,
something where the volume is extremely high,
mhm,
customer experience, and it keeps on running day after day after day, the amount of memory that it has to read through just piles up. And at this point of time, we have not really found an automated solution that can do the job well. At some point of time, the memory
mm,
identification, storage, and retrieval does go
mhm,
back and fall into human hands. And just
mm.
to round that up, if I was to give a popular analogy, think of this as some equivalent of Harry Potter's pensieve. As
Yes.
Albus Dumbledore says, at some point, the memories become just too heavy for you to
So
process. So he finds it
just keep
convenient
it
to take it out, put it there, and then
ready.
be able to use it somewhere else.
Wow.
That's the fun. That's the role that you want the extended memory to do.
Really, you made my day. This is something which I actually suddenly some bulb in your head lights up. I'm so happy. Yeah, good, good, good. Thank you for sharing it. Now I think Anupam, most of my of what I write or produce in my video, most of my viewers are college students and all. So I think though people who would be going to the job market and also putting them into the picture. My next question is, what your analysis of AI's impact on the ITS model? Because India services is one of those major area which actually generates a lot of jobs. And I'm just debating a little bit. Where do you think the job market will go? We are seeing a little bit of uh, two different big organizations behaving differently. TCS telling something, then Infosys telling, okay, don't worry, we'll hire more. Uh, what your maybe two cents here?
At some level, it's a simple answer. At other level, it's a complicated answer.
Yeah.
The simple part is, look, we tend to have a very short memory. If you go back in history and look at last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, something like this keeps on happening. We
Yeah.
have come from a time when we were only food gatherers and food hunters. There was nothing else that we could do. But then we figured out how to farm,
Mm,
how to produce devices
mm,
and tools that would allow us to liberate
mm,
space.
mm,
You could have asked the same question at that point of time. What will these people do? They found out
mm,
other work to do. One of that work, unfortunately, was fighting, which
mm,
still to this day is one of the principal occupations. But something like this keeps on repeating. Closer home, if you look at population
mm.
names in US or in Europe, the Caucasian countries, a lot of them
Caucasian.
end with the name Smith. Smith, when you look at it, is a root word which gets used with prefixes like a blacksmith, a locksmith. So it is defining the work that people are doing. So they were always making something, building something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at what they're doing now, they're actually not doing that. So those works have also gone away.
Mm-hmm.
Agriculture today is highly mechanized. You've liberated a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
If again, closer to history, 70 years, 80 years back, you had a lot of people driving steam locomotives. There's somebody who was breaking the coal, there was somebody
Mm-hmm.
who was shoving it in, there was somebody who was driving it, and then there is this entire workshop built around maintaining water supply, whatnot. Today, you could get into Vande Bharat, one driver could switch on the button and train goes. There is nothing else of that.
Mm-hmm.
So these episodes have kept on going in the history. What everybody needs to keep in mind is that the current wave is going to be no different. So there is
Mm-hmm.
going to be a lot of garden variety things that can be automated, that can be done through AI. They will be done. However,
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting rooted onto the part to say I want to do AI or I don't want to do AI, I think my advice would be very simple. Find a niche where you can add value. where it
Mhm.
is your creativity, where it is your experience, ability that you can bring in to make a difference, something that the
Mhm.
machines can't do, which has always been the case in the human history. The machines have
Mhm.
changed, our interpretations of what machines can do has changed, but it has
Mhm.
always fallen into something that the humans can do and the machines can't.
Mhm.
And don't necessarily think of them as your enemies. I
Enemies.
wouldn't even say think of them as an ally, but think of them as tools.
Mm.
And you, as you know, are in a much better position than Tala, you and I were when we were in college. We didn't have that
Absolutely.
tools.
That rules.
These
Abs-
people today have access to those tools. Think about creative ways that you can use it to build something which is more unique.
mm.
And just to put that in a way, LLMs can be very powerful. They can write codes, they can build websites, they can do everything that, let's say, 80-90% of coding job does. But
Mm.
I again go back to that simple question. Could the LLMs make an LLM? The answer is no. Could the LLMs create an RAG model? They don't. Could the
Mm.
LLMs create an AGI? They don't.
Mm.
Goes back to the same point.
Mm.
They will be
Yes.
bound by what humans have invented. So if you can dare to go beyond that, think beyond that, and have capabilities to go beyond that, you will always have skills that will be in demand in the market.
Wow. Wow. And that small story about that Smith thing actually rang some bell, rang something in my brain. My title, which is a Patnaik, actually it was it came out. I did some search in the Wikipedia. It was
Hmm.
way back in the 13th century when the king, Odia king, wanted to build an army, and he wanted some people to take note of, okay, what's the ration coming in, and to do those clerical jobs. This
Mm-hmm.
Patta Naik, Patta is actually
Yeah,
sort of a place,
so
and Naik
interesting.
is the leader. So I'm the head clerk, you can say, who is right now doing bid and proposal management for SAP. So wonderful, wonderful analogy.
You
Yeah,
are a
so
head
that
record keeper. I would say
head
that. You
record,
are the
yeah,
holder of intelligence.
the holder of intelligence. So okay, that memory. I don't know. Now, next one is having you such a wonderful thing. So let's get into that personal and philosophical insights. I'll
Hmm.
actually come to one of your wonderful posts where you drew parallels between Ramayana and systems thinking in AI. So my question is, if Rama was building an AI system today,
Hmm.
what dharma would he prioritize to avoid ethical pitfalls like hallucinations?
Interesting. And you have the answers of how Ram goes about Ramayana in the
Mm,
entire bit.
yes.
Because there are places where he actually is asked to do something which
Mm-hmm.
the other rules forbid. And
Mm,
one of the easiest examples to quote, which a lot of people would have seen,
mm-hmm.
is when initially Vishwamitra takes Ram and Lakshman to the forest and he asks him to kill Tarka.
Yeah.
Now, Tarka is a woman, and as per
Mm.
Ved's
You,
scriptures, you cannot kill her.
yeah.
But Vishwamitra has an extremely telling quote that people can go back and look at the Valmiki Ramayana. I don't remember the exact quote, but I'll tell you the meaning out of it. He said, "Do not think of her as a woman. Think of her as an adversary who is harming your people. And even if it is against your personal dharma, as King's Dhar, it is
Yeah.
your duty to take the apyash even if it comes, because you have to take this as a king and make your
Mm.
people, free.
See.
And therefore, this dharma overrides what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What is our key takeaway out of it? The key takeaway is at some points of time, some dharmas will be in confrontation. Confrontation is the wrong word. In opposition to each other, and these are the points which is called as a dharma sankat. You have to figure out
Mm.
which dharma is above. And for that, Ram's entire code is always about intent and alignment. What is it
Mm.
that he wanted to do and how does it align? This is
Mm-hmm.
less about rules, but
Mm.
this is about upholding the proper ethical order.
Mm.
When Bali in fact questions him, why did you kill me from behind?
Mm.
Ram simply says this, I was not fighting you. I was punishing you for the offense that you had committed.
Yes.
There is a difference between fighting and punishment. And then look at intent. The
Mm.
intent was to uphold the rule of law. If the rule of the law at that point of time was that the younger brother's wife is to be considered as a daughter and you can't take her as a wife. He's simply
Mm.
upholding that law and saying you
Wow.
broke that law. I am punishing you for that.
Mm-hmm.
It is not about whether I shoot you from the behind or from the front. It is about whether you have been punished and that example has been set or not. So that's intent,
Perfect.
that's alignment.
Indeed.
And if Ram
Yeah,
was
land.
to ever do this, he would make sure that everything which is coded in the AI system has a layer at the top of it before anything comes out, which
With
makes
right
sure
intent. Yeah, with
with
right
right
intent.
intent,
Yeah.
right intent, and all internal alignments in place. I think that's the
Okay.
one piece that I would say Ram would go with.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. So I think we can go on talking about it for number of hours with all this philosophy and your expertise in seeing the entire world. Wonderful. So what I promise is I'll try to my audience is I'll definitely get him in couple of maybe in 1 month or couple of months based on his availability. But wonderful having you, Anupam. It's such a I learned a lot in the last 30 minutes. Any parting words before we conclude this Tech Samvad edition?
I would only say you've been very kind as always. You are assigning things like
Oh
learning
my
to
God.
what I would say are ramblings of an old person. We have just lived long enough in the world to handle all of these, and that we dish out as ramblings. You are being very
Yes.
kind and gracious to say that these are learnings. So
These are,
I want to thank you for this, and it's
and
been wonderful
please keep
catching
on
up.
rambling. And I would suggest everyone who's listening to it or reading it, please go and follow Anupam. Definitely, you will be intellectually much more richer by reading those posts. So with that, Anupam, thank you so much for your time, and I'll try to bring you maybe in another 1 month once you give me some time from your busy schedule. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dada. Wonderful catching up.